Are you facing the dreaded ERR empty response error when trying to access your application on localhost while using Docker? You're not alone, and today we're going to solve this frustrating issue together. I completely understand how frustrating it can be when you think everything is set up correctly, but you still can't access your application. This is a common issue many developers encounter, and it can be quite perplexing. Let's dive into the specific question at hand. One user asked, "Why can't I access localhost on port 32769 when running my Docker container?" They provided their Docker file and some commands they ran, which gives us a great starting point. To understand this issue, we need to consider a few factors. It could be related to the user or group running Apache, or perhaps the way ModWSGI is set up in the Docker environment. Let's break it down step by step. Stay with me, because at the end of this video, I will share a crucial tip that can help you avoid this problem in the future. To address the issue of not being able to access localhost on port 32769, the user should first check the Docker container's network settings. Ensure that the container is properly mapped to the host's port. Next, the user should confirm that the application inside the container is listening on the correct port. This can be done by checking the output of the netstat command. The user should also verify that the Apache server is running correctly within the container. This can be done by checking the process list for HTTPD. If the Apache server is running, but the user still cannot access the application, they should check the configuration of ModWSGI. Ensure that it is set up to serve the application correctly. Finally, if all settings appear correct, but the issue persists, the user may want to check firewall settings on the host machine. Ensure that the port is open and accessible. Fun fact, did you know that Docker containers are like mini virtual machines? They can run applications in isolation, which is super cool, but can also lead to some tricky issues like this one. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution suggests that your HTTPD process is bound to port 8000. To resolve the ERR empty response issue, you need to expose this port in your Docker file. Update the expose command to 8000. When you run your container, use the DIP option to map port 8080 on your host to port 8000 in the container. This way, you can access your application in the browser at localhost 8080. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests adding a line to your Docker file. They recommend including the command workdir/usr/app/ just before the command instruction. This sets the working directory for your application, helping ModWSGI locate the necessary files. Here's a pro tip. Always ensure your Docker file is optimized and that you're using the correct user permissions for running services like Apache. This can save you a lot of headaches down the line. And there you have it. With these troubleshooting steps, you should be able to resolve the ERR empty response error. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks on Docker and development.